Salutations everyone, and welcome to What Mattered, the show where I tell you what mattered in the news this week. Did you all have fun trying to unlock those Rio skins in Overwatch, or did you bum yourself out by reading Suicide Squad reviews? Either way, this is what mattered. So yes, Suicide Squad finally came out this weekend to much fanfare, broke the record for a Thursday preview night for August, breaking Guardians of the Galaxy's record from a couple of years ago, and they destroyed that record. A lot of hype going into this being, the third film in the DC multiverse that they've created here for franchise purposes, and this one had a lot of cool things going into it. The cast, the Suicide Squad, that's the first comic book movie strictly about villains, and a group of them at that. David Ayer writing it, and there's a lot of drama about reshoots and competing cuts of the film, but it's gonna do well. It needs to do $750 to $800 million to break even, in which case it would be considered a win in the eyes of the studio if they can break even on this one. It was cost a lot to shoot. They spent another $10 million on reshoots and even more money marketing the film. Rumor has it that the movie will not be coming out in China because the Chinese deemed it not an appropriate movie for whatever undisclosed reason. So that's definitely going to hurt their chances at making buku amounts of dollars. We know Batman vs. Superman didn't break $1 billion, which was a bit of a disappointment, but they still made some money off of it, and a lot of people have really enjoyed the rated R cut on Blu-ray, and I wouldn't be surprised if Suicide Squad got that as well, especially with all the competing cuts, certain scenes with the Joker that Jared Leto really liked that were cut from the film, so we'll see. I myself did see the film, and it was okay. It was your typical superhero film. It had, a lot of great things that could have happened, a lot of awesome adapted material privy to them. It had some good actor choices. It had some, straight out of the comic book kind of lines. There were some things that were really out of place and cheesy and completely, obviously this came from a studio head, said we need to do this, or whatever. There were some scenes that was awesome, and there were some scenes that was what the fuck was that? So, it was okay. It was an okay film as a whole. I think it's good enough to do what it's wanted to do, but Man of Steel, that was good enough. Batman vs. Superman, that was good enough. Suicide Squad, that was good enough. The movies need to stop being good enough and just start up being straight up, that was pretty darn good. That's what they need, and who knows what a different cut of this movie might have been. It was very, very rushed. There was just, they tried to cram in so much into this film. There was never any time for nuance. There was only a few scenes which they actually allowed something to develop. That'd be a conversation or a relationship. People have different opinions on how different characters should have been portrayed, and for the most part, it was okay. I really disliked what they did with Killer Croc for a number of reasons, but Jared Leto, Joker, not a huge part of the film, as you should have expected if you paid attention, but he was alright. It's a different Joker, and that's not inherently bad. Every Joker that we've seen on film or even television has been different, and this one was once again a different take. Margot Robbie was outstanding. Will Smith's Deadshot was a little bit too Will Smithy than it should have been, but still it was mostly Deadshot. And Viola Davis as Amanda Waller was about as great a performance as anyone could do, except for Amanda Waller herself, CC Pounder, who should have been casted. But regardless, still a good job. So it was an okay film, but they need to start doing better, and hopefully the Justice League and Wonder Woman will start gearing in that direction. But it was okay. Enjoyable. One of the other big, really cool things this week has once again been Overwatch, which has now topped over 15 million unique players, which is huge. Blizzard had their biggest online user base this past month than any other time in history. A lot to do with the growth of, their current long-standing franchises like Hearthstone and World of Warcraft gearing up for the new DLC. Those getting even more popular, and Overwatch selling even more copies in the last month than they did in the first 2 weeks of release. So that's really good. We got Ana, free DLC character, and now here with the Rio Olympics, we got over 100 new possible items to get in these next 2 weeks during the Olympics, including new, amazing, awesome, cool skins. Finally, a cool skin for Zarya, 2 amazingly adorable outfits for Tracer, all these new sprays, really cool poses, and it's really awesome stuff that I'm sure we're all going to try to grind as much as we can the next couple of weeks to get that done. Also, at the end of those 2 weeks will be the end of the current first summer season of Overwatch, and we now know what the payout system is going to be for your competitive points to see if you will finally have enough for a golden skin on your gun. Maybe you only have 20 or 30 or 40 competitive points thus far, but at the end we will get our sprays and our icons, and if you're in the top, was it 5,000 competitors, you get an animated spray and other unique cool stuff. So here's the reward system. Based off of your competitive placement ranking, you will get this amount of other CP points, which I think for most people will dish out more than 100 CP points, so you can get at least 1 golden gun. If you played a lot of time, you might even be able to get 2, granted, how well you have placed during this season. Of course, after this, there will be a couple of weeks off before the fall season starts, and I'm sure we'll have new things to unlock there as well. Blizzard, the best in the business at giving their games the longest tail of long tails, and quality and consistent free updates that are super cool like this one. Also, Lucio Ball, which sounds a lot like Lucille Ball, but it's even cooler because it's Lucio playing Rocket League, and that's pretty special. Pokemon Sun and Moon, we once again, another week passes and more information and new cool stuff. We got to see some evolutions and some pre-evolutions of previously announced brand new Pokemon in Sun and Moon. We also got the big Alola Pokemon forms. We have the Ice Vulpix, the Fairy Ice Ninetales, and the Ice Steel Sandshrew and Sandslash because they're adapting to a new environment in the Alola region, this being one of the colder islands. And as well as the new Alola's Executor form, which is more dragon than Charizard, making all the Charizards in the world cry once again because this giant palm tree is now more dragon than he is, which is always a shame. We also got to hear about these new crystal things, which are kind of like mega evolutions, except they're mega attacks that you can use once per fight, and you can use it on any Pokemon as long as you have the corresponding crystal as well as type and type of the move to make something super duper powerful. So that's definitely going to change competitive play of Pokemon. And we also got to hear a little bit about how the whole Gym Master Island thing is going to work. Looks like it's going to be much different than any of the previous Pokemon games where you would go to a new city and take down a gym. Well, this looks like there's some sort of challenge and Pokemon-specific challenges to take out in each individual island. So there's a little bit of questions there that need to be, ratified before we learn exactly how we're going to go about becoming the very best like no one ever was in the Alola region of Pokemon Sun and Moon. And of course, Pokemon Go is still a really big thing. This last update, we got a lot of people salty about taking down the third-party apps that over 11 million people use to track down Pokemon. Well, that's no longer a thing that they are able to do with the new update. They took out the power savers, but they're coming back. They also took out the ability for these other sites to track Pokemon, which was a huge resource suck on the servers. So you might have noticed that the servers are much more stable, and that's because that these websites were sucking on them so hard. So even if you really liked using these services, which have, been really shoddy in the accuracy in most regions, maybe you got lucky and it was super accurate and on time for you, but they definitely really hurt the servers, which we know was the biggest problem with the game thus far. There were people catching Pokemon and then it changes species after they caught them. Curveballs are curving much more than usual and Pokemon are not being caught as much of a high rate, and those are bugs that they say that will be addressed. Also, some people got Articunos somehow, and those have been revoked. Apparently they weren't captured in the way that they wanted it to be in the game. They said that the legendaries or new Pokemon will be released special time events in certain locations. They're keeping it very vague. They want to, make sure the game that they have right now, if you can call it a game, I know people have different definitions for what it is, but it's a game. Get over it. They need to make it stable and work with the current model that they do have, but they definitely do need to keep people's interest because it's a huge cultural phenomenon that could flush away rather quickly if they don't make the service better and give us more things to do, because I see every gym nowadays with a 3100 Dragonite. And it's apparently a lot of people have done everything that they can do, at least in their certain regions. Still waiting for a Farfetch to hatch for me, because I can't go to Japan. But I still like the game, I still play it, but it definitely needs some updates. And they say that with the McDonald's sponsorship and those kind of Pokestop things, they don't have to focus as much on microtransactions because they'll be getting money from companies, which is kind of just good for everybody. It's good for the companies who endorse it, it's good for Niantic, and it's good for us users because it gives everybody more stuff to play with. Skydance Television announced that they have secured the rights to a live-action TV series of Sword Art Online for America. And that's kind of exciting, but also we should have a lot of red flags. It'd be an anime to live action, which has a very shoddy past. Also, would be a very, graphic intensive sort of project, and it going for television. I don't know what they're going to be able to do with that. It's not like this is going up on HBO Game of Thrones style or anything. But we do have some okay writers who worked on Avatar, Terminator Genesis, also helped work on the script for the Ghost in Shell movie, and is a huge Sword Art Online fan. So that's nice experience and passion. But when it comes to the bottom line, what are they physically capable of doing? How well can it look? Who's going to be casted? And what they're going to be changing or not changing about the storyline. I'm a huge SAO fan myself. Really looking forward to the movie and Hollow Realization video game coming down later this fall. But a live action adaptation could be amazing, theoretically, if all the right minds and all the right big, deep pockets were involved. But I'm definitely going to be very cautious. It might not even happen, because we hear about this stuff a lot when it comes to anime adaptations, whether it be movies or TV series, more so of the former, because we don't hear a lot of adaptations of anime or manga coming to a television platform or a digital platform online, which might also be a possible revenue for them. But it's nice to be optimistic and hope that it, has a nice debut and leads a path for other awesome opportunities for other sources of media. Anywho, that is what mattered this week. If you'd like to know what matters in the future, hit the subscribe button down there. And if you would like to leave any comments down below, I'd be much appreciated. We'll be talking about what mattered every single Saturday if you want to keep informed in the future. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.